Hello, and welcome to Mean Reviews, No Stars Given, the show where we review indie books, movies, TV shows, maybe someday even music or video games, as well as a bit of traditionally published work. Please like this show and subscribe to the Go Indie Now network. My guest host this week is author, national treasure, and famously nice person, Bobby Nash. Let me bring him out. Welcome, Mr. Nash, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yes, I'm going to make an attempt to be meaner this time than last time.
I am so excited to hear you say that.
Well, don't get your hopes too high. Let's manage some expectations here.
Understood. Before we get into the first review, just a quick note about comments. Context. That is the entire note. As an old person with a family history of dementia, I am always seeking context. So, our first book to review is Earth, Game of the Year edition by Robert Carnevale. Yeah. Here's the blurb. Jack, a young and jaded New Yorker, is done with life. Its challenges are plentiful, and there's a simple solution just a toaster and bathtub away. But everything changes when a teenager from another realm informs Jack that he's a sentient AI trapped in a video game, one that can be manipulated. For Jack's sake, the teen hacks the game to make it easier, forcing its cruel developers to intervene. Out of cheats and options, the digital protagonist must confront reality. If he wants a better future, he's going to need to earn said future legitimately. Can Jack rise to the occasion and beat the developers at their own game? Well, let's get right to the things we like that aren't in this book or whatever it is, which in this case it is a book. I'll go first.
Mhm.
Oh, and I want to take a moment and congratulate myself on continuing to identify things that I like, week in and week out, for you folks in the audience. I'm a simple man, extremely simple, some say, and liking things is not one of my few strengths. That being the case, figuring out 3 things that I like every week is quite an accomplishment. So great job, me. Thank you, Bobby. That being said, one of the things I like is British Empire police procedurals, meaning shows from the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand mainly. I find these shows on streaming services, of course. There are 2 primary ones that serve this market, BritBox and Acorn. We subscribe to both. Do I like them because the bad guys just give up at the end and admit everything after some gentle questioning from the authorities? Or is it how a tiny village can have 1 or more murders every week, and yet people still live there and don't lock their doors or take a self-defense class? Partly. But I mainly like them because my wife does, and I don't want to get divorced again. So I try to just shut up about most things. In Earth, Game of the Year, no one watches a single British Empire TV show. Not Father Brown, starring the guy who played Ron Weasley's dad in the Harry Potter movies, who is a delight, by the way. Not My Life is Murder, starring and executive produced by Lucy Lawless of Xena fame. The people in the game don't watch them. The real people outside of the game don't watch them. Nobody watches them. As a result, I could not relate to any of the characters. Part of this may be because I didn't get much sleep last night, but I, regardless, am giving Earth Game of the Year edition 0 out of a baker's dozen fresh strawberry scones, which is a Father Brown reference for any of you who have seen the show. And luckily, since I didn't get any sleep or very little sleep last night, and I'm very cranky, that should balance out, you, Bobby, with all your innate disgusting niceness. So,
Well, speaking of sleeping, I, on the other hand, I love sleeping in. sleeping until the wee hours of the afternoon, as it is. Um, Poor Jack's morning routine in this book exhausted me, wore me out completely. Uh, these people work too hard. Um, I am more of a just kind of ease through my day kind of guy, and yeah, sometimes the characters in this book, yeah, made me feel less. Made me feel less about myself a little bit, like I was a little on the lazy side, and that's never fun. So for that reason, 0 out of 5 stars,
All
because
right.
yeah, I don't need help feeling bad about how lazy I am.
All right. And now we'll move on to oh, things we don't like that are in this book or whatever it is. But I forgot. We need to look at some comments or they'll stack up and I will never know what they are talking about. The first one is from The Godfather, Joe Compton. People to send a star to let our hosts and producers know how much you appreciate what they do here at Go Indie Now. Every time you contribute, you get entered into our season prize package drawing uh, with gift card swag and more. You have to go to Facebook to do that. And even though I'm old and I use Facebook, I don't know exactly how it works to give
and the,
stars to
and
people.
these are not no prizes like the comics. These are like real prizes, I
Oh,
think,
yeah,
maybe.
as from what I understand. We got some people joining us. Thank you all for coming. Hey, it's Lily. Hello. You did make it to an episode. Ah, well, I'm glad that you also like UK police shows. But you're Canadian, so I mean, like, it seems like you have to like them, kind of. You know, you you guys never rebelled from them.
I have to admit,
Hola.
I do love that Lucy Lawless show. That is a
It
good
is
one.
so good.
I
It
love
is,
that one.
yeah, a lot of fun. So you have that's on Acorn.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. You may be the only other person I know that nobody has ever admitted that they have the subscriptions to either of those two. Oh, oh, well, how do I delete a comment? I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Oh shit. Thank you. That is so helpful. You guys are the best. All right. All right. So, I'm just going to do it again. Things we don't like that are in this book or whatever it is, which in this case, of course, is a book. Um, this part is much easier for me. I don't like most things, including most people. But specifically, right now, I don't like cheating. This entire book is about cheating. Cheating at the game and cheating death in several ways. It's a festival of cheating. I'm surprised the kids playing the game aren't shown cheating at school. If they weren't always playing video games and had romantic relationships, they'd probably cheat there too. Disgusting. A much better book would have been some well mannered children playing the game by following the rules and learning some life lessons about effort and hard work being their own reward. It almost goes without saying that they would only play the amount of time that their parents allowed and would take plenty of breaks for stretching and exercise outdoors. That's the book I hope Mr. Carnevale writes next. I'm almost willing to guarantee it would be a bestseller. Everybody enjoys rule following, and
Yes.
reading about rule following is just about the best thing in the world. Sadly, I'm not reviewing Mr. Carnevale's next book. I'm reviewing this cesspit of cheating that he chose to write first. And this cheater's paradise gets 0 out of 10 for civilization affirming rule following. Bobby, what don't you like?
I am I and this will probably get me booed a lot, but I am not a fan of video games. I've never been a fan of video games. I don't know. I don't have the video game gene. Um, and virtual reality gives me a headache. I've tried it. It's not pleasant. And so even though he writes these type of things well in this book, reading them made me feel very queasy to the point of like feeling like I was also trapped in not a game but in the book. I was trapped within the pages, and scraped my ankle on a staple, that kind of thing. It just yeah. Um, so yeah, I find the idea of being trapped truly terrifying, and yeah, that kind of triggered those memories for me, and it was like yeah. So I'm like you. It's kind of like, could they have not just been out in a big field, or I don't know. It's yeah, somewhere where the walls weren't closing in, as it were, and yeah. So for that reason, I'm going to give him a half a star because I do think those were well written, but only half a star because it was well written stuff that I don't care for.
You are nice. All right.
I try.
Now we'll move on to things we can actually talk about that we actually liked but won't spoil the plot. Would you like to go first, Bobby?
Sure. I wrote this because I thought it was funny, and it's like, Robert got realism in my fantasy, and I do like how he mixes the realism and the fantasy elements together. As I mentioned earlier, his, Jack's morning routine is very real, very realistic, very and very well written. But then we go from this real world, which is kind of which is not as exciting as the world when they get into the fantasy world part of it. Um, and I also thought he hit me. I made a copy of one line because there was a line in here that really, really struck me as a very deep thought. Um, what makes here real? And then there's more to it, but I skipped to the last part. If I can choose to accept what's unreal, why should I accept what is real? And I had to stop and reread that when I was reading the book because that one really stuck out to me. I think that is and it really is boils down the essence of what this book is how do you know the difference between real and real? You know, if because they both feel real, how do the characters determine which is real, and how do they make that happen?
All right. Well, I enjoyed the awful bosses getting their comeuppance.
That was
Uh, I enjoy anyone besides myself getting their comeuppance, really. Um, I also enjoyed the brisk pace. And finally, the failed suicide at the start of the book. And I'm not against suicide per se. If your life is really awful and it won't get any better, maybe it's a good choice. I don't know. I do know I approve of all those terminal old people choosing assisted suicide instead of consuming more tax dollars. But if young Jack had offed himself at the beginning of the book, it would have been just a short story without
hmm
much going on. So I don't think that would have been very satisfying at all. Thus, I believe the author made the correct decision there. But
I would agree.
now, well, good, thank you. Now comes the actual awarding of less than a full star to the book. Remember, I didn't get much sleep last night, so I'm pretty cranky, but I give Earth Game of the Year edition by Robert Carnevale 1/392 thousandths of a star. I'm too tired to remind you of my reasons, but they are extremely valid, rest assured. Bobby, what portion of a star did you give it?
Well, because I did give the thing that I did, and that didn't like, I gave it a half a star. I'm going to give the whole book 3/4 of a star.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so that's how you know you hooked me.
So that averages out to still like 150 thousandth
Yeah,
of
yeah.
a star. All right, let's look at
But
more
for this
comments.
show, that's pretty darn good.
Uh, the real world, yeah, does suck. No stars. Ooh,
Okay, I like that one.
the
That
show's
was good.
gotten really deep. Or this channel is well. I hope it is. Otherwise, I've wasted a ton of time.
Yeah, it's like we're in the Matrix.
No, I don't know what a suicide roller coaster is. I mean, it sounds terrifying. Yes, Bobby is too nice. Um, yeah. All right. So, thank you for those comments, and please keep them coming. My wife says they are the best part of the show, but of course, she married me, so what does she know about anything? Um, right now, though, let's get to know Mr. Bobby Nash a tiny bit better. Tell us about yourself, Bobby, and all of the things that you write.
Well, as you mentioned, I am a writer. I write a lot of novels, comic books, short fiction, audio books. I've written a couple screenplays. I do a lot of crime fiction. I love killing people in my books. Not a lot of suicides for you there, Ron. Although I did write a book called Suicide Bomb.
Hmm.
So that one, yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely a more of an action oriented type writer. Uh, Especially my crime fiction, a lot of chasing and fighting and running and car chases, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, so it's fun. I enjoyed it. It's a fun job.
Awesome. And I am Ron Lahr. I cook, I bake, I garden, I write. I write epic fantasy like the three books of the Cathaldi Chronicles. I also write humorous science fiction.
Ooh, I love that
Um,
cover.
thank you. It's like you get what you steal. I also write serious self help books like You're as Stupid as You Are Fat, How to Talk to Women. All of my books are available on Amazon. You are free to buy them all and then review them on Amazon or to just buy them all. Those are your two choices as far as I'm concerned. Um, all right, it is time for book two, almost. I'm going to look at the comments again because, I'm like addicted to that. Okay, so reincarnation, that is the suicide. Well,
Mm.
that makes sense. Um, See, that's funny. I found it suspicious when he
Mm.
said, "Oh yeah, in my book." I mean, it was like it was a
I started
real.
I started using that line a lot. My brother once told a relative of ours that I murdered people for a living and did not like add anything to it. And I suddenly wondered why my relatives weren't speaking to me anymore.
That makes sense. Um, Thank you, Nikki. That is very. I would say yes, de- depending on how smart you are. Like the dumber you are, the more I think you should do very dangerous things in the hopes that you won't procreate. Because when I was in college, I took a stats class and I wrote a paper about how the more intelligent and educated people are, the fewer children they have. So I think it is incumbent upon smart people to have as many children as possible. Um, so I think it ties into that.
Mm, I can't argue with that.
Yeah, devil some relatives. I mean, but
Yeah,
it'd be nice if you could pick and choose which ones we're terrified of.
right.
Wow. Okay. Now, excuse me. We're gonna move on to book two, At the Cabin, and there's more about At the Cabin, a tale of supernatural suspense, Supernatural Detective Agency, Book One. Excuse me, by Claudia Blood. Here's the blurb. In this suspenseful supernatural detective agency novel, two strangers find out that they've been set up to die as part of a plot that puts the mob in league with demons to pull off the ultimate score. Can they work together to survive the supernatural threat? Laura Cassidy never set out to battle psychotic arsonists and hitman demons. She was in enough trouble just trying to keep the dog shelter she was running afloat amid financial crisis. So, when her best friend, Katie McMillan, and boyfriend Peter offer her a chance to get her mind off her troubles at a rustic cabin in the woods, Laura jumps at the chance for some romantic time with Peter. Only that's not what she finds at all. Instead, ex FBI agent Todd Levitz shows up, and they both realize they've been set up, only they have no idea why. As the cabin goes up in flames, Laura and Todd find themselves running for their lives, suddenly in the middle of a plot involving doppelgangers, mob hitmen, and terrifying demons. Together, they must unravel the mystery in time to figure out why they're being targeted. And Laura must decide if Todd is someone she can trust, or if he might be just one more deadly playing piece in this terrifying game. All right, let's jump right into our likes. I like chickens. This is a picture of my chickens today. Not only do they provide delicious protein-rich eggs, which I love, but they are hilarious. And have you seen the price of eggs lately?
Mm.
Yeah. This book's main character, Laura, has a dog rescue operation. Dogs? Really? Lots of people have dog rescue organizations. They're everywhere. What the world needs are more chicken preserves like mine. Since my current wife, also named Laura, won't let us eat any of our chickens or any animal that she even sees while it's alive, added to the fact that chickens' egg production drops off after they're 2 or 3 years old, my calculations tell me that in about 10 years, we'll have increased the size of our flock from 14 today to approximately a shitload so that we can maintain good egg production. And I know most people's chickens only live about 10 years maximum. But based on how long our cats live once they reach the unable to control their bladders and bowels, I expect our chickens to live about 50 years each, ultimately resulting in a flock of thousands before I enjoy the sweet release of death myself. Now, I have a dog, a great dog. Here's a picture of her, Misty. She's awesome. Uh, I love her very much. She's my best friend. But the chickens need much more help. So for giving into the tired trope of the main character being a dog rescuer in a psychic thriller, psychic suspense, and/or women's crime fiction novel, I give At the Cabin 0 out of a dozen eggs per day. Bobby, what do you like?
I like the beach. I love the beach. The beach is the perfect vacation destination. You know, yeah, I think the cabin in the woods thing, everybody does that. So yeah, a cabin on the beach or a shack on the beach. That would be the ultimate getaway for me. Getting out, enjoying the fresh salt air, the bright sun, not covered under hidden under trees, and it's probably rained, and the smell of moss and musky, whatever's that's in the woods, and all the sounds that are in the woods, and nature is loud. The crickets and the nature is constantly trying to kill you. The beach, sharks aside, is pretty calming, you know. And so long as I stay away from where the sharks are, I'm fine. And so yeah, so that's what I like. And sadly, I was disappointed that none of that is in this novel.
Great
So I
point.
give it so I give it 0.129 stars
Ooh,
out of 5.
that's so specific.
Yeah.
All right. I have no idea what this is referring to, but I'll assume Bobby said it. I don't know.
Well, she's cooking, so
Um,
I thought maybe it was about eggs.
oh, that could be. I want smart people to have children, but I have never given birth. Going through that more than once is not something I would consider smart. Well, that's a tough one. I mean, the whole thing, I mean, with humans, we're designed to forget trauma, you know,
Mm.
and forget how awful it is. And my ex-wife had 2 children, which I wanted 9 kids. Um, she wanted, I don't know, 1 or 2. And we negotiated and we agreed on 4. And then she reneged on the deal. And that is why we got divorced. Not her leaving me, but because of the not having more kids thing. Um, anyway, uh, all right. Ugh, that's a good, I don't like to leave my property anyway, so I I wouldn't.
Yes, yes, people are out there.
Oh yeah, the bugs I know here are worse enough. Bad enough. I don't want to go somewhere where there's new bugs, and somebody else's, I don't know, mess. Um, but chickens are the best, even better than little hellions. Ferrets. Boy, we
I
talk
don't
about
know.
ferrets more.
Sometimes chickens can get mean, though. I grew up.
Roosters.
I grew up right down the road from a chicken farm when I was a kid, and yeah, those little bastards could get mean at times.
Well, roosters can certainly
Yeah.
get mean. We don't have any roosters. We're not trying to breed more chickens. We just have hens to get the eggs. Um, yeah, roosters are freaking sons of bitches.
Hmm.
Um, that would make for a great movie. Um, well, I also love goats. Oh, all right. I gotta go. Here's my two goats wearing
Ah.
wearing some of their clothes. Um, I just leave those in here so I can show them whenever I want. Um, but my wife loves animals wearing clothes, so the poor goats have a lot of clothes, I will say. Um, I believe you. Yeah. See,
Hmm.
I think Nikki's onto something here.
Yeah.
I hope
Here
she's
in
working
speak
on that.
while we're talking about goats, there's a place. It's like a touristy trap, just north of here where I live in Georgia, called Goats on the Roof, and the store has goats that live on the roof, and they built like a whole track and like a whole preserve
Nice.
on top of their building, and that's what the store's called, is Goats on the Roof, and they're just living their life up there, and people stop and just go nuts for them.
That's brilliant.
Hmm.
Our plans for this year, because okay, I built a little house for him, and then I built a small fenced in a small yard for him. But during the non-winter months, we take them every morning. I take them out of there and put them in a kind of a mobile fence thing. Four cattle panels hooked together, and then they can eat down the weeds and whatever in that area. And we move it all around the property every day or two, or uh, maximum three. So the goats, I wouldn't say they earn their pay, but because we spend so much money on them, but they get out, they get into being differences. But what I didn't think about was how winter would come and the snow, and they couldn't go anywhere. So I'm going to give them a much larger area this year and build them a bunch of things to climb on and walk on. I mean, there's big rocks in their area, but um, yes, I'm not saying it's going to rival Goats on the Roof. I mean,
No.
that sounds like a really awesome place, but I'm going to work towards it with that as my goal. However, oh my gosh, I can't get anywhere with it.
Mhm.
I do agree. Someone needs to write this as a story. I feel like it should be Nikki since it was her idea, but um, maybe maybe it'll be an anthology we all contribute a story to. The same
That's
way you clean the poop out of the building
yeah.
they sleep in, with a pitchfork and either a wheelbarrow or a wagon. I just hope they compost it like I do, which is just a delight. Um, excellent. Well, there really could be some. Oh, that's a good question. I mean, that's what's so great about this show, bringing together great minds,
Hmm.
to create what seems like it would be high art, I think. Um,
Hey, you never know. You never know what's going to spark that next big thing.
that's true. All right, well let's move on to things we don't like that are in this book, and I will go first.
Mhm.
I don't like women with trust issues. They are notoriously hard to trick and manipulate, very time consuming, and it leads to all kinds of complications, just like what happens in At the Cabin. I like gullible women, like my Laura. What a sucker. She believes almost everything I say. Hilarious. This book's Laura gets tricked and betrayed just one little time, and then has trust issues for almost the rest of the entire book. If my Laura reacted like that, we'd have never gotten married. So I give this book 0 out of 1 my Lauras. Bobby, what don't you
Very
like?
nice. You actually, I had trusting women on my list too, but I had a backup.
Oh, good.
I do not like the smell of wet dogs,
Oof.
and there are some wet dogs in this book. Primarily, Duke is the first one we meet as Kate and Laura. He makes a break for it, and Kate and Laura have to chase him down. Um, anyone who's ever had to chase down and then smell a wet dog, will know exactly what I'm talking about. And yeah, so it brought back some unpleasant memories, sensory memory. So for that, I give it 0.013 stars out of 5 Marmadukes.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you. Call
Um,
back. I almost went
yeah,
with Snoopy, but Marmaduke sounded funnier.
I think so. All right. Let's move on to things we can talk about that we liked without spoiling the plot. Um, I like the story. I mean, there is a lot going on.
Mhm,
Uh, it is packed full, but it feels very different and unique. I definitely did not have the feeling while reading this that I had read something similar, or
mhm,
that it was the same old thing. That was quite enjoyable. I know reading fantasy novels on Kindle Unlimited, I often have that sensation of I've read this before and I haven't, but it's just so similar to
mhm.
other fantasy stuff. So I very much enjoyed that about it. How about you, Bobby?
Yeah, I thought it's definitely an origin story, because I mean it pretty much tells you there's more to come. I do like the fact that we do wrap up that main plot in the book. I am not a big fan of books that end in to be continued, so I like the way that it was done here. That where she ends the story, but then gives you that little bit teasing the next one. And I think
Yeah,
that's a great way to start your kick off your series. I love mysteries. I'm a big time mystery fan, and so the melding of the supernatural and the mystery works for me. I'm a big PI and crime fiction fan. So mixing those genres together, I think she does it really well. I think it really works. And I got to admit, the Middle of the Woods Detective Agency is a pretty cool name. I did
oh,
dig
that's a
that.
good point.
Yeah, and I also enjoyed the Spick and Span as the dog's name. I thought it was pretty cool. It's a clever name and works in the context of the book. But I enjoyed the characters. I think she tells a really good story. And like you said, yeah, it was different. I think a lot of that was the melding of the two genres that made it feel fresh. And I'm curious to see where she goes next with it. So for that, I will give her um, point a half star out of 5. 5 tiny home cabins.
Oh, that's very sweet. But those are great points. Let's look at this. Ron emotionally manipulates his wife. That is a time commitment. Well, we are married, so I feel like that every spouse does that. But
I think we
um,
missed out on a comedy moment of having her come up behind you and like hit you with a bat while you were talking about that.
well, I'm not an idiot. She's not home. Uh,
Smart man.
so yeah. I was thinking, do we need to reach out to Ron's Laura? No, no, I don't want to get married again. I'm really busy trying to trick another woman into marrying me. A third one, it's, that talk about time consuming. Um, I was gonna guess that Rebecca was the one who couldn't figure out time zones, uh, but she didn't give us. Well,
At least not yet.
yeah, I don't even know. I feel like it's a trap if I were to respond to that. Um, oh, oh, I see. No, okay. So am I used to the time commitment of
Or the
investing
burning sensation.
emotionally? Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. There's a lot going on. I w- well, mostly she just threatens me with her mother. Like I'm going to tell your mom, and then or my mom, and she's a very scary German lady, and you just don't mess with the Germans, as far as I'm concerned. So, but yeah, no, she's well, yeah. Laura is often disappointed and angry at me. But mother-in-law is a good threat. Yeah, no, she's smart. Um, all right, so now it is time to uh, give our actual ratings to At the Cabin, A Tale of Supernatural Suspense, Supernatural Detective Agency, Book One by Claudia Blood. I give it 1/10,000th of a star because I'm tired and I'm cranky. Bobby, how about you?
I'm going to give this a point one of a star. I gratefully enjoyed it, and now I have to come back and read another one because I'm invested in what happens next.
I want to read the next one and however many more there are in the series. One, because I finished what I started, and two, just to see if it gets better. Does she address the concerns we raised
Hmm.
during the show and learn and grow? I'm always curious about that.
Right.
Um,
The On the Beach Detective Agency is just waiting to be a satellite office.
oh, that's true. Um, yes,
She's not wrong. I used to work for a German company. Everything sounded like they were yelling.
I believe it. All right. I've got we have something new on the show this season. Each episode, after we review the two indie projects, I give the same treatment to a famous non-indie book, movie, TV show, album, etc. for some variety. Today, I will be reviewing Will Trent,
Mm.
the current ABC TV series. Now, normally I go through the same stuff. What do I like? What do I not like? Things I could talk about with giving away the plot. But today, because I'm tired, I'm going to mix things up a bit. No synopsis or blurb, just my review. So here it is. Uh, I like it. It's like Monk with less goofiness, or maybe a serious version of Monk for grown-ups, which I also liked Monk. But since I can't give it a star because of the ironclad rules of this show, Will Trent gets 9/10 of a star from me. And the reason I reviewed Will Trump today is because normally when I like a show that is on the air, they immediately cancel it.
Mhm.
So I want people to watch this show and love it so that they don't cancel it. But
Can I ask? I also like the show. Have you read
oh
any
yeah,
of the novels that the show is based on?
not yet. I will though,
The
because for me, I I very much enjoy watching the adaptation
Mhm.
of first. If it's good, like I think my favorite example of it is The World According to Garp, starring Robin Williams and John Lithgow and Glenn Close. And I mean, it The World According to Garp is a gigantic book. And if I had read the book first and then watched the movie, I'd be like, they left out all this stuff in the
Mhm.
book. And that could be, I mean, it can be a very frustrating experience for me. However, watching the movie first and then going to read the book, I loved it because I all of the characters I saw as the actors from the film because that's some great actors. John Lithgow, Ron Williams, Glenn Close in particular, really amazing. And so all the stuff that isn't in the book that involves those characters, I still saw the actors. I very much enjoyed it. I read that book
Mhm.
every few years. I love that book. Um, so I'd like to give
Mhm.
more of the season a viewing before I go read the
Yeah.
books.
Well, the first book in the series is called Fractured. I believe that's right, and it is the first two episodes of the season. Is that first novel? So.
That was what I was going to do, Claudia. I like it. But then I thought,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
no, I was just going to say I like it and then just stop. But I mean, I had to give a little bit about the show. There's no synopsis. There was just so little I was going to say because I do want people to watch it. It's a good show.
Mhm.
Um, oh, nice, Anita. Well, she has tremendously good judgment, so
Mhm.
everybody should watch it now. I know exactly what is going to happen. Well, that might be a little strong considering comments that are part of the show. Um, all right. So that's really it. That's it. Now I would thank Bobby Nash for being on the show and but all that happens in the outro, so he gets nothing right
Yeah.
now.
No stars for me.
Exactly. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mean Reviews, No Stars Given. Please like this show and subscribe to the Go Indie Now channel. The first order of business is to thank this week's co-host,
Bobby Nash.
As usual, you were fantastic. How did I get so lucky? God only knows. Please buy all of their work because they so richly deserve it. I can't wait until you come over so I can make you a meal from ingredients we grow in our gigantic garden. See you soon. And to the two indie writers, filmmakers, musicians, or whatever who trusted me to review your work with all the respect it deserves, thank you very much. I appreciate your boundless optimism. So,
Earth Game of the Year by Robert Carnival.
and also,
At the Cabin by Claudia Blood.
thank you so very much. Please buy all of their stuff to reward them for their bravery. And remember,
It's always time to go indie now.